All right, Pop Up 101 podcast here, backed by Product One, Health Performance, Battle Tested, Victory Multisport, Man Frame, and Token Choke, and Uncounted Peaks. Make sure to go to all of them and get their product and shirts and clothing and everything. Be on top of your game every single day. I'm here with, again, Jose, JJ, Darflex on Instagram. And again, give us a little depth what you've been up to and how you've been.
Been pretty good so far. Actually, I just got back from Vegas. I was there cornering the Golden Boy fights. After one of my fighters, they were tutor, and got a chance to stop at the UFC PI, get in touch with my friend Charles and Gavin, the director of nutrition and director of strength and conditioning. We had Grant Dawson on that fight. If you guys saw the fight, unfortunately, it didn't go his way. So, it happens. But otherwise, it's been good, man. Just studying, getting research out, trying to bring more education out in the field of strength and conditioning, especially for the fight sports.
Yeah, what Grant Dawson, that was a really interesting fight, of what he did, how he prepared for it, and then, and the regimen he had going up to it. It's very, very interesting because he worked so hard to get where he's at. And I believe he'll be back again. And
Yeah,
what I was going to ask you is, was there some kind of, because when he went, Bobby Green's a different, way different style. He's very different, orthodox wise and everything, and he's stance wise. He's very hard to prepare for at times, right?
yeah.
And was there anything like game plan wise, like when he went in there, like something he could have changed different in certain areas?
I'm not too sure, man. I mean, obviously, I'm not really a skills coach, but I mean, I do
Yeah,
observe the sport quite a bit. I think it was just wrong time, wrong place.
yeah.
Honestly, I mean, it was really too quick to kind of make any like comments on it in that sense. It was only 30 something seconds, so didn't really
How
see.
was how was the prep coming up to it? Like how was all that?
So in the past, I've worked with him and his wife and their body composition and weight cut and stuff like that. His weight cut was actually done by Eric Pena, remotely. He did it at the UFC PI. But no, the prep was good. I mean, he's out there training with Tiago and Tiago Alves and Tiago Moises. Working on striking, working on grappling. Um, I think the game plan was solid. It's the original American Top Team recipe. It just wasn't his night.
Yeah, I just was very, very. It was a very because he came up for so many wins. He was winning back and back, and he was really, hyping up, and he's really moving forward, and just the background of him, and his family, and everything. And just like I said, Bobby Green's just a different, sometimes hard prepared for that situation.
Yeah.
And he looked like he looked great. When he came in, he came out of the vehicle. Dawson did, and Bobby Green when they came out for the main event, he looked great, looked confident, looked in shape, looked everything, ready to rock. So that's really cool to see. So when you were in Las Vegas, and then I know you went to Spain, right? Am I correct? I just want to make sure.
So the Spain thing was remote because they told me very last minute. Actually, they didn't even
Yeah.
tell me. I just woke up one day and there was a post with me on it. I'm like, oh wait, I'm going to Spain. And I'm also the program director for exercise sports science at university, so I can't just up and leave in very short notice. I would have loved to have gone, but I did everything remotely. So we zoomed in. I did my presentation on sports nutrition and weight cuts, and then did a very brief Q&A for those guys. But overall, it was a good time. Really good crowd. A lot of good questions. You know.
That's awesome. How was the in Spain, it's very interesting because, how was the talk with them about the weight cut compared to, you talked to everybody here also. I mean, was it very more in-depth questions?
No, I think these questions were all very similar. I mean, everybody talked in English. I offered to speak in Spanish, but they just
Oh,
stuck
that's
with English
awesome.
because there were a couple of other Europeans there as well. So not everybody spoke Spanish. But no, the question was pretty general. I mean, it seems to be pretty big out there, right? These guys definitely know what they're doing. So I was able to have a pretty good conversation with them. It wasn't like I was just talking to a brick wall. They actually gave me some
Yeah.
feedback. So it was pretty good. I mean, they have a pretty good idea on how to carry out weight cuts out there.
So and then like I seen Phil was out there and everything, and they had they're going on, and I seen there's a lot of people out there, and it was very interesting to see that, especially Phil, going out into it, and then you represent everything, and, really putting the I would say, you know the trust in, there's a lot more trust in that going out there, because you want to make sure that you're giving the right information to the right people. And like I tell everybody that all the time, Phil and you guys at the team, the gym, you guys do, you guys are students. Like, Dustin Poirier even said, Phil's still a student. You even technically say, sometimes, you're just to learn about your student too, and you're very in depth of everything too. So it's really interesting seeing and hearing everything what you guys are learning and learning about and being better, in the gym and everything. So it's really cool to see.
Yeah, that's one thing. I mean, one saying that always sticks to me is like the more I learn, right, the more I realize how little I know. So yeah, I'm definitely continuing studying and reading up on research and doing my own research and publishing it. You guys can find a lot of it on the JISSN or on Google Scholar. I have most, actually, they're all on Google Scholar. So, it's good stuff out there for combat sports, nutritional intervention, and ergogenic aids.
I want to ask you too, because I've been seeing you on your Instagram too lately with the strength conditioning and stuff like that. A lot, like more in depth, at certain areas of I've seen, on the bicycles and the weight training and everything. How is it? How do you switch it up compared to one person to another? Like, if they're trying to go after something else, you want to switch it up right away.
Yeah, and I think with anything we're approaching training, we have to do that needs analysis first. Right? So we have to see what it is they actually need or what adaptations we're trying to seek, and that's how we program the actual strength and conditioning camp. Because there's a term, it's heterogeneity, right? So meaning that every individual has very unique differences. So while we have templates, we have programs, and it is technically a general approach, but we have to tailor everything and understand these are individuals. So it's just getting to know your athlete, getting feedback, running those assessments, and off of all of that, you create your needs analysis, and from there, you kind of program to reach the adaptations needed. Like, for example, we have Tyler Ray. I'm sure you guys have seen him a lot on Phil's page. He's probably one of our strongest athletes. We really don't focus too much on working absolute strength or trying to develop more strength. We kind of focus just on developing power and kind of maintaining that repeated sprint ability and then overall recovery. So, I mean, sure, we can get him stronger, but is it going to make that much of a difference? No. So let's focus more specifically on power production, which in this sport, power is king, right? How much force can you produce in the shortest amount of time is what's going to get you where you need to be. When it comes to the numbers, it's all about rate of force development. That's what really matters in the sense of athletic performance. When it comes to strength and conditioning, of course, skill is separate of that.
Mm. And I want to ask this too is, all right, so I'm gonna ask this because I know a lot of people probably ask this too. I've been doing, how you were saying before, when our last podcast, squats isn't always, the king of, legs too sometimes, and I want to know is when you said that, do you use, I seen like a lot of times with the isolation of the dumbbell, right? You're using a dumbbell a lot more. You could use the barbell if you want, or you can use a single weight too, depending on what you want to use. But give me a little in depth about that, because I know people probably were curious about that, more, because I have some people reach out to me about the squat saying, what does he mean behind that a little more? Um, why would it benefit to go towards, maybe like a dumbbell or a kettlebell kind of workout?
Yeah, and of course, if the person has the capability to do a squat correctly, for sure, go for it. One of the biggest things you'll see in the sense of ranges of motion here is a deficiency or a deficit in the external rotation of the shoulder. So when you're coming into this back squat, some athletes can't even bring their hand all the way back to actually get the bar, which can cause excessive forward lean, which can then front load the spine and then cause potential damage to the vertebrae. So if we can eliminate that limitation of range of motion, then and still get the squat adaptation, which is just a squat movement. I mean, it could be. I mean, my go-to is the safety squat bar, right? Because you're just right here the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
But then you have your front squats, you have your goblet squats, you have your dumbbell squats. One of my favorites, it's the dumbbell slant board squat, just because it's so easy to move with it. It's not, if I lose my balance, I just drop the dumbbells, right? If I lose my balance with the bar, I might have a little bit of an issue there. So, it just depends on the individual. I think people need to understand that they don't need to be specifically married to the squat or the back squat per se. Just understand that a squat is just a biomechanical movement. right? And there's various different ways to load the squat itself, whether it's a landmine, whether it's dumbbells or a kettlebell, whatever is the safest approach for the athlete to still get that adaptation is what you want to go with.
That's amazing. No, that's really good in depth. So if everybody's listening, make sure to take his advice because it's very, very interesting to hear that. Because I mean, I've been myself. I use a lot of Phil and your guys' stuff because I like it because I feel like it works a lot more better than sometimes with squat does, you know. So I usually sometimes will go like with a dumbbell or kettlebell. I'll go like 7 sets of 30. A lot of times that's just me, and I try to get the legs, you know, really kill the legs a lot more. Try, and then a lot of times what I learned from you guys also is that to your foot movement, you can put your foot more outwards, or you can put your foot more inwards, and then it can really help the uh, your thighs grow a lot more also. So that's really beneficial to me.
Yeah, it's just like looking at the arm. If you supinate the hand, and it comes to
Mhm.
elbow flexion, we're focusing on the biceps. If you pronate the hand and you go to elbow flexion, we're focusing on the brachioradialis right here. So yeah, I mean those small positions do have some specific adaptations to or specific muscular adaptation depending on how you place it. But also, people who have longer limbs, who have, and women, for example, who have different Q angles than men, then perhaps we have to explore different um, stances of the squat or the
Mhm.
deadlift or whatever, so we can still get a good range of motion without compromising the hips.
Very interesting. What is new? What else is new? Like what else you been up to that you are really, you know, maybe that's growing into a different direction that you want to, you know, do more.
So right now we're looking at wearables. You've probably seen some of it with Knox, which is near infrared spectroscopy wearable, and it gives you biofeedback on specifically skeletal muscle oxygen concentrations. We're looking at active nitric oxide concentrations, total muscle hemoglobin concentrations, even body temperature, and it also has an accelerometer. So I think the term for this is what is it? Let's say load measurement or load monitoring, right? So we have external and internal loads, right? Your external loads are going to be very obvious, reps, intensity, volume, whatever. Your internal load are going to be things like your your heart rate, right? Your breath rate, VO2 max. So those kinds of laboratory assessments will be more so geared towards your internal load feedback. So I think being able to apply those appropriately, right? Appropriately, we can definitely see if one, our program is working, so reaching the adaptations based on our programs, and if we can fine tune it to reach any other adaptations. And it doesn't have to be the Knox, right? Like the most common wearable for internal load monitoring is going to be a heart rate monitor. You're getting heart rate variability. How are you recovering after repeated bouts of sprintability, right? So I think that's very good. It's actually one of my courses right now for my PhD, so that's what I'm focusing on is looking at wearables and specific laboratory assessments for athletes. How can we use this data? Like it all looks cool. Like I'm sure people see metabolic carts and see all this cool stuff online, but
Yep.
do you really know what you're reading? Like I would
Yep.
say most people just see a number and say, oh, it's high, it's good, right? But what does that mean? Do you know why it's good? Do you know the translation to like athletic? For example, if you look at VO2 max, VO2 max looks super cool to do, right? You go on a treadmill, got a mask on, you got some sensors on your body. But it's actually a very poor indicator of athleticism. It's a really poor indicator of how you're going to succeed in strength performance. Now, if your sport is simply an endurance sport like cross country, then VO2 max may be a good indicator of your performance. But for almost every other sport, especially the ones that are very skill specific, VO2 max, I mean, doesn't really tell you anything important other than they're pretty healthy in the sense of a cardiorespiratory fitness level.
Yeah, that's amazing because a lot of times, you know, people don't understand is that their oxygen, right? Their oxygen level, they don't understand how much they use when they are really trying to recover quicker, you know, and I think that's gonna be really beneficial because your heart rate, right, can only go, you know, so much when you are trying to get to that, you know, peak of being another level athlete on the higher top than the other one. So I can't wait to see how that all really turns out and really looks at.
Yeah, should be. I mean, I think the app just launched last week, but everything should start getting rolling pretty soon. In sense of collecting data and just seeing how the Knox works and how we can implement it.
I'm still getting used to some of the wording because there's a lot of stuff, with the wording and everything, I do get used to, and I understand what you're saying because a lot of times I look at the numbers. I might have friends that are, nurses and doctors, and then I talk to them here and there, and they're like about the numbers. I say, oh, just number, right? No, and they get more in depth of it, right? Sometimes, and
Mhm.
I'm like, so what does that mean? What does this mean? And then they tell me a little bit more about it, and so like that's why I like seeing, I like seeing that. How the body can really get to the extra as an athlete, a bigger level compared to the an amateur athlete, right? They're trying to become a pro,
Yeah,
and like I tell everybody, you need to. I'll give you a prime example. Look at Dustin Poirier, right? Dustin Poirier from when he was before, when he first started as a pro to now, totally different change. He's like more. He's a more uh, he doesn't use all of his oxygen in his fight because I remember his cardio used to be a big deal, and now he doesn't use all of it. He takes his time in a lot of it, and he really drives to try to not waste all of his energy in certain areas. So
right.
it's just a prime example after what Phil's done, and helped him out in certain directions, and you guys helped him out in certain directions too, So it's very interesting seeing that. So I mean, do you ever have an athlete that you see that do get in deep waters when you are training at times and you're like, hey, we need to work on this specific thing next time to really amp up your athleticism. Athletic. Yeah, I can't say the word right now.
Yeah, I have had a few athletes to where like we'll run the conditioning, and I use the conditioning as a micro assessment as well too. Like I'll do ramp protocols on the bike, and some of them I'll see that they're not even able to maintain like what's expected at their level. So, I mean, those are all good indicators. It's never really, honestly, in my experience, it hasn't really been like in terms of like weight, like strength or power development. I mean, that comes. It's always been conditioning. And there's various different variables as to why that happens. A lot of things you can't control. What are they eating? Are they partying? Are they sleeping? Are they drinking? Are they smoking like marijuana, stuff like that? And of course, they're human. They should have a good time, but we have to understand that those kinds of things do have a negative impact on performance. So it's just up to us to kind of get that feedback and then program off of that. And again, you throw them on a bike, you throw them on a sled, they're going to break down eventually. It just depends where, right? And that'll tell you whether or not they're adequately trained or they need to improve on certain aspects. So that maybe they're anaerobic or even their aerobic conditioning.
Amazing, amazing. How do you do it with the slide? Like, do you bring slideshows when you bring up, like, say when you're going to like meetings or you're approaching a situation to explain to an athlete? Do you bring in like a slideshow to really show them how to do this or how to do that?
It depends. If it's like a seminar or something like we did in Spain, for sure, there's going to be some slideshows. If I'm talking one-to-one, one-on-one with an athlete, I kind of just show them their objective feedback on whatever monitoring tool I'm using for that session. Sometimes they'll ask me for like slides. I mean, I have a couple of pre-recorded presentations that oftentimes I'll send to fighters who want to learn more about weight cuts and nutrition. It just makes it easier on me. I don't got to talk to them. They have my face there recorded. They can just listen. But oftentimes, I think the more valuable thing is that one-on-one interaction where we really get to address specific questions as an individual rather than just addressing a general or like the masses, right?
Yeah,
Now,
because I'm always. Oh, go ahead, go ahead.
I'll say now I'd like to think that they do understand and comprehend what I'm saying, but I'm not 100% sure on that.
No, I mean I understand like what you're talking about, like weight wise and everything, and then trying to do everything. But a lot of times with the audience, with a lot of people out there, um, my biggest thing is this: is one-on-one interaction is key, right? Me and you talking one-on-one, it's awesome because you're going to take more in,
Yep.
and you're going to take more knowledge in because a lot of times a lot of people don't understand. And then also you got to look at it this way: for them to ask the information, slideshows or papers or anything like that, that even tells you they're more in depth. They want to learn how to do everything, weight loss, interact with the strength conditioning or whatever they have to improve on. And that's very interesting. And also on the same side as my thing is I'm worried about a lot of times is the weight loss, right? Trying to make sure that the eating's right, the cardio is right, the strength is right, the conditioning is right. All that lines up in play. And what it does come down to, a lot of times what I've done my body wise, what I have really did is it comes down to your nutrition, right? A lot of times, and like you just said, the partying, the alcohol, and then you know other great other stuff that they do outside of that. So you have to really, and then again, you look at it all the time, like I see in the past. A lot of the enhancement stuff that's happening in the future that we have seen, I've seen, and fighters wise, their chin goes a lot of times. When they stop doing certain areas and certain stuff. And a lot of people are like, well, it wasn't that, it wasn't any of this. No, it was that because there's a reason why they were recovering so quickly and their chin was staying up so nice. And now all of a sudden their chin is out, because of the a lot of stuff they don't take anymore, to get to that stage they want to get to recover quicker. So that's why I think like when you're talking about the recover wise about with the machine and everything else, I think that's a great thing for them because it's going to in depth see what their pressure is when they're running, what their oxygen level is when they're running. How are they going to be breaking everything down when they're doing that weight loss too? And can they trust the system as they went along, And a lot of people that I've seen lately, marathons, this is the other thing. Victory multisport athletes also have been using what you're talking about also. I've been seeing that more often. They've been tagging me in certain areas, certain stuff with the bike, with the oxygen level, on breaking it down and everything else. So I've been seeing a lot more in depth of that too, just so you're aware.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it is transferable to other sports when it comes to just general human performance. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And then
100%, 100%.
when it comes to sport specificity, of course, then we start to tailor things down towards the sport and the skills of the individual.
Yep. No, I understand. Yeah. I mean, I used to do weight cuts. That like when you do weight cuts, like with the athletes and everything. I used to weight cuts, and I'll be honest with you, I only ate like maybe this was like extreme, but I ate like a salad maybe and it's orange. That was it. Maybe a little water here and there, and I do a crazy weight cut. But that was just insane sometimes. But you had to sometimes get that weight cut. Now I know how to do it the right way. It's a lot more advanced than it was back in the day. So that's even better.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, again, we're all still learning as things go. We find better ways to do what it is we got to do to get the job done. I mean,
And so how's everything? How's your planning been for time management? Have you been a lot more of the time management, you sequence wise,
So it's been good. I will say this, this weekend, it was a little stressful. I actually missed one of my assignments for my own school. So I had to email the professor and ask for an extension. But normally, no, it's pretty good. I like to get things done pretty early so I can focus on things. I can have to travel or if I have to work with some fighters here and there. I mean, my primary occupation now is academia, but I still have a huge part in the performance world. Here in the United States as well as Southeast Asia is another big population that I work with. So the good thing with them is they're 12 hours ahead, so I have a little bit more leeway on when I can send them things. It's not like I have to be like that on the spot because when they're awake, I'm asleep, and I'm asleep, they're awake for the most part.
That's good though. How's the school been going anyways? As and doing all that, how's that been going?
Good. I mean, it gets a little monotonous here and there, but otherwise it's been pretty good. It's going along. I'm a little over halfway done, so just looking forward to finishing quickly so I don't have to focus, like I can focus on myself a little bit more and not just always studying.
That's good. That's good. And then I was gonna ask you too is with the training regimen and everything, and are you trained more? Are you still training like different athletes in different areas, like like maybe the bodybuilding scene or the fighting scene and stuff like that? Are you transition even
I would
more there
say
for to be diverse?
more so online. The people that I work with in person now are either just fight sports or law
Mhm.
enforcement. I don't really work with general population anymore, and if I do, it's typically online. Other sports, same thing, it's going to be online. So I have some NFL athletes, I'll have some MLS athletes. And then, of course, the Singapore national team that have various different sports, that's all remote. I mean, it's pretty simple, pretty streamlined. Because working with people in person is really time consuming, right? Because you think it's not just a 1 hour session, right? It's you finish the session, now let's talk about how the session went. So we have to get that pre and post training feedback, which again is pretty time consuming versus doing it online and just sending an email or text and I can read it later on. That's my preferred approach now, just because there's so many things going on. I can't just focus on um, any specific team or anything like that, which is why I like to teach other coaches and stuff like that, because this is the ones who out there now in the front line per se. I mean, not that I'm old, but I've done my time. I did this for a pretty long time now. Stepping back a little bit, let others take the reign, and I'll just help guide and educate as best as I can.
Good. No, that's great. That's great because a lot of times you don't see that, you want more online. Like I just talked to Rob. Rob's doing online too now, Rob was doing online. I just talked to him and that was really cool to see, I told him, I said, man, keep it up, good job, I wish him the best of luck and everything. Because I will be out in Florida too, just so you guys are aware. I'll
Oh,
be out
sweet.
in Florida in 2024 is spring of 2024, and I'm coming out there and I'm gonna visit your guys' gym.
Oh,
And
congrats.
I'm gonna visit Reinvent Gym and hoping I meet you. I'm hoping I, get that handshake. I meet you and I meet Phil and then we go from there.
Yeah, just give us a heads up. We'll definitely be here.
Yeah, definitely. Because then we have to get some lunch or something, because I wanna see how the gym looks. I want to see what you guys do and everything. It'd be awesome to see because I'm starting to grow more on the podcast and MMA talk now.
Yep.
Um, we just went more into the collab with one of the other MMA podcast. He's a podcast for MMA and MMA talk, so out of the UK. So it's gonna be really cool to see that. So I'm hoping to broadband that and hoping that with you, with you guys and everything to bring on a lot more with the podcast too and everything. So it's gonna be really cool to see. And I can't wait, But I also want to ask you, I mean, when you're collabing with different people and you're interacting with different people, a lot of people go by social media, right? Your look in social media. They see your look in social media. They want to see how you look, what you do, and everything. If you could give to somebody out there and say, don't just put certain stuff on social media, put stuff that's really gonna, hit home, and really push your advertisement out more. How would you tell somebody to really, not
That's
just
actually it's a good question because that's kind of what my struggle was in the beginning, right? And obviously it depends. I mean, you have to know what you want to do. Are you going to be someone who
yeah.
has a social media presence and wants to teach people stuff? When I first started this film, I'll be honest, I had to delete my original social media because I only used it for like memes and porn, bro. I didn't do anything much with it. But then I'm going through it, learning the social media stuff from Phil. I shifted to a more professional aspect. Like people are going to see what I'm doing. I want to have a good impact. I want to make sure that everything I put out there is evidence based. There's a lot of people that put out bad information out there. Interestingly enough, who's surprisingly one who puts out bad interpretations of nutritional studies is Andrew Huberman.
Who is
Along
that again? Who is it?
Andrew Huberman from the Huberman Lab podcast.
Oh, okay, okay, okay. I got you.
Yeah, like when he talks about like drinking water and nutrition, and like a lot of it's wrong. A lot of it's wrong. Not
Mhm.
necessarily that he's making it up. I think maybe he just misinterpreted the data that he was looking at, the study he was looking at. Because in his podcast, it's not really his study that he's doing. He's reading manuscripts and he's kind of regurgitating it and giving us the
Hmm.
breakdown. And so some of it's great stuff. Like his stuff on sleep is fantastic, but some of the nutrition stuff is definitely a little bit of work. But again, I mean, it's all with good intentions. So I would say if you're someone who wants to put yourself out there in social media, know
Mm.
what your niche is and stick to it. Definitely play to your strengths. Right? You don't want to do things outside of your scope of practice, which can lead to
Mm.
issues, right? I mean, not just legal issues, because if you accidentally give somebody medical advice, that can be an issue. But just you don't want to be known as the guy who puts faulty information out there or bad information just for clout, right? And there's tons of those on social media.
That's interesting because I mean, there's a lot of like I don't know, I'm a big fan of Joe Rogan too. All right, so I like Joe Rogan, And he actually tells everybody, hey, this ain't serious. I'm not a doctor or anything. He tells everybody right away, right? But also, I like Phil's podcast.
Yeah.
Phil's podcast is very interesting when he brings on different people also. And I tell everybody that you have to watch what you say out there, because if you don't watch what you say, you will, it will, people will take it that serious. People take it very serious, and they'll take that information and they'll use it, and then they'll use it towards something else, and then it'll kind of hurt somebody else, and they don't know that it is hurting that person, and that's why I always like, even that, like I say, like with the podcast there, that you have to make sure to watch, what we say, what we do, everything interacting. Why? Because these days people are going to take certain stuff, and that's why it's great having you on again, because in depth wise, you are like a scientist on the weight cut and everything, what you say and everything, because it's amazing. And then with the strength and conditioning too, you go really in depth of talking about everything, and then on the same side, how you use your time management is very, very important, and you do a good job on it. So just so you know, it's great having you back on and talking about all that, because it helps my audience and your audience to know that, hey, this is the real deal. You research like a lot all the time with Phil, you know what I'm saying? And you go really in depth of researching. And that's why I always tell everybody, guys, make sure to go also to Phil's page and go to his podcast also, because there's a lot of stuff in depth you can listen to on his podcast that he talks about. It's all real. And Phil will be real with you, and no matter what, and he'll help you out no matter what, any way you can. And so Jose will help you out any way you can also, because he's very in depth, and the questions, whatever question you have, he'll answer. It's very simple, because if he don't know, if anybody doesn't know, they'll figure it out and they'll get back to you. There's always a way to find out some kind of information.
Mhm.
I mean, have you hit that side before? Like, hey, you know, maybe I should really read into this more and research it
Um,
more.
yeah, with Knox, actually, I know I'm using it and everything, and I know how to run the assessments, but analyzing that data and looking at the mechanism of action of active nitric oxide, that's something I still need to read in more. I'm not afraid to say that I still have a lot to learn in that aspect, even though I'm one of the forefront users of the wearable. I definitely still need to learn more of the um, I guess the science behind it, not so much the wearable, but the science. Like, what are the implications of active nitric oxide concentrations in the body, right? One interesting thing I'm looking at is that those who have low active nitric oxide concentration in the body tend to be at a higher risk for cardiovascular disease, right? So, if we can use that wearable to monitor that and increase it for either nutritional or training interventions, we could potentially reduce some of the risks associated with cardiovascular disease. But again, that's just more stuff that I need to read into more, look at more studies. There's not a lot of studies on it, so that's why we're looking to doing our own studies as well too. But definitely have to look more into it before I actually make any definitive statements on it. Just because,
That's
again,
interesting.
I don't want it to come back to me, and say, "Oh, this guy was
No,
saying
100%.
this."
No, because yeah, this is interesting, because I'm gonna research this too. I want to research and know more about this. I just think it's very interesting the way what you're saying, what you're talking about all this, because a lot of times with an oxen, like you're saying, it's very interesting to see at the next level, right, stuff to happen, and for the athlete. And I think every athlete should be very, very pumped up for this, because it's going to make a big difference for the future for everybody, and it's really going to help them amplify to reach that next level and everything, to be the best they can be in any sport they're at, not just one and everything. So I can't wait for that. So also, I just want to wrap it up a little bit, since just so everybody's aware, and I want to ask you about um, what is the goal going forward in 2023 again, and then it switches up all the time. I just like to know.
Uh, I mean, now after going to Vegas and all this, my goal for the rest of the year is kind of just relax and cruise a little. Um, No, so the good thing is right about now, a lot of our fighters are kind of on that, let's call it off season. They either fought or they're not going to fight until next year. So a little bit more easy on us. You know, some of them aren't training right now; they're on vacation, they're with their families. Some of them are just doing general preparatory stuff, which they can do on their own most of the time. So, I think just my goal for 2023 is kind of really just wrap up everything I've been doing, and you know, specifically the publications. That UFC PI position stand is still in the works. You know, it's a large collaboration, so you know it takes time to get information from different places because we're not all in one same place, right? It's from places all over the country. So I kind of just want to wrap that up by the end of the year and just start 2024 kind of fresh, relaxed. You know, probably won't start any fight camps until late January, early February. So it'd be good.
Yeah, I'm gonna be looking forward to all that, because I'm definitely, at towards the 2024, I'm definitely gonna definitely reach out back out. I'm gonna reach out to you again because I want to bring you back on and talk about more in depth with how you. I want to know how you interact more into the fight camps, and in depth of it because I think it'd be very interesting for the audience out there also to really see how a fight camp with a coach that really is researching more about the athlete all the time, and that really cares because you have a lot of coaches out these days. And I'm being real with everybody about this. You have a lot of coaches out these days that are not very real to their, they are only there for the dollar, a lot of times.
Yeah.
And I like seeing coaches that are real and 100%. I tell everybody always go to Philidor's gym and your guys' gym, no matter what, and interact with you guys. Even with everybody that's been interacting with Phil, also, make sure to reach out to them, ask them questions because everybody that I've noticed, everybody I talk to, even people that are mentors underneath Phil and everything, it's very intriguing to see them, right, being the best they can be every single day and interact with different other athletes in the future, So
Yes.
I'm really can't wait to see what the future holds for you, and I can't wait to see what the end of 2023 really holds for you too because um I like how you go really in depth of everything, because it's very interesting to the audience because everybody that I've talked to when they listen to the podcast before with me and you talking about certain areas of the body and the strength conditioning and the condition and the oxygen and everything, they really were intrigued by the how much you were in depth about a lot of stuff, and that was really cool.
Oh, good. I'm glad.
So just so you're aware, they are hearing about what you're saying and they are asking questions, just so you know. So
Good.
I just want to put that out there.
Yeah, if anybody wants
Um,
to DM me, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Make sure to DM them. And again, where should they follow you at? And do you have anywhere else they can follow you at also?
So on Instagram, it's Darth_flex with 2 X's. And everywhere else, it's either Jose Rojas or JJ Rojas.
Awesome. Awesome. Again, it's been an honor having you back on here, talking about, the Knox, talking about athletes, talking about Dawson a little bit, and talk about everything to really go in depth of the body and everything. It's really cool. And I hope wish you the best for, as, professor going forward in your classes and everything and learning more. I wish you the best of luck and everything.
Thank you. Really appreciate it.
No, you're welcome. I'll talk to you more later, and then I'll reach out to you towards probably December, just so you know. Everybody, this will be worldwide on YouTube and on the go on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and everything you can think of to get it out there. So thanks again. You have a great night, and we will talk soon.
You too. Thank you.
You're welcome.